Welcome to Lens of Leadership, typically our Ted Lasso rewatch podcast, but today, we have a special guest, Adam Chip Hamilton, coordinating producer. Come listen in.
Hi again, everyone. I'm Nick Coniglio.
And I'm Marnie Stockman, and this is Lens of Leadership, a Ted Lasso rewatch podcast. We're the authors of Lead It Like Lasso, a leadership book for life, your life.
And today we have a very special edition of our podcast. We are so excited. We're joined today by Chip Hamilton, who, among other things, was a producer for Ted Lasso.
So Chip has worked, yes, with Jason Sudeikis on a number of projects and has also been involved with some huge, well-known projects, Avengers, Endgame, Little Women, Ghostbusters, among others. Crazy fun list. And I certainly can't do it justice. So I'm going to say, Chip, what else would you like our listeners to know about you before we jump in?
I've been incredibly blessed and lucky, the road that I've kind of led down. I've had some incredible mentors, colleagues, friends that have led me, into doing, to be honest with you, what I love to do. I truly do. And I've always said, the work is the work, and I love what I do. I always tell people I don't have to go to work. I get to go to work. And I think that's the key. And I again, from day one, my very involvement in anything really in production, it was just where, I was meant to be. And the work is good, but the people that you meet along the way. Again, not unlike yourself as well, too, Marnie. I know we've had a couple of different podcasts, so it's great to see you again. And Nick, it's great to see your face as well, too. And I just, when you guys sent, the invitation to kind of be on this podcast, I wanted to jump at the chance. So thank you both for having me.
Thank you.
That's awesome. We're excited to find out a little bit more. So our first question is, so Marnie and I, almost for a living with our book, we rewatch Ted Lasso. And we notice as that screen fades to black on so many episodes that it says Adam Chip Hamilton, coordinating producer. So for those of us like me, who's not really that familiar with what goes on in producing, creating a TV series, what's that all about? What exactly was your role on Ted Lasso, Chip?
Yeah. It's very kind of a niche role, but I've been working with Jason for probably now going on 11 years. And I've known Brendan and Joe Kelly for, a long time, as well, too. And when you're doing something, again, like a TV show where you want to try to, again, capture the spirit of a message of what we're trying to put out into the universe, you want to make sure that message, and you want to make sure that instructions, and you want to make sure that directions are carried out by, the decision makers and the people that are in charge and ultimately going to be in charge of that show. And a lot of what I do is just to facilitate, just whether it's just basically to make the lives easier, whether it be for cast, whether it be for crew, whether it be for, just about everybody that's involved in the inner workings of the show, making sure that everybody's either, the goal is to be running as smooth as possible. And again, like all productions, there are going to be things that come up, is to make sure that, those fires are put out even before they start, or even how do we put them out as soon as possible, or even just bumps in the road, and just making sure that, I'm a big proponent of, what you even do, even behind the camera, is going to reflect with what you do in front of the camera. So making sure that people are in a great headspace and trying to, be positive and provide a positive environment for the set, and to push and drive people forward, and to really just unleash the talent that all those folks, talking again, cast, crew, everybody that's involved, that were asked to be on this project, and just make sure that they're able to spread their wings as wide as possible, and to let everybody on there just fly and let their talent of why they're there shine.
Do their thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
They say you can't multitask, but I bet you can.
Oh yeah, that's it. That's my.
So you're a professional multitasker is what I just heard.
Exactly. I was going to say, there are women in my life, my mother including them, that will absolutely dispute that. But yes, professionally speaking, yes, I've been known to do quite a few tasks at the same time. Yes, that is probably correct. Yeah.
So I'm curious, are there any particular fires that you can share with our audience that make for a good story?
Anything. It's just, even just the run of the mill stuff. Like I'll relate this to, just to anybody. It's just like, hey, you have a meeting. We'll have like a safety meeting, or like with us, like our call times, whatever. right from the get-go, like, are people up? Was anybody late? Why were they late? Was it, is transpo, there? Are they at the right address? Is like anything? I mean, and this is
Yeah.
all before we even gotten to. This is all
Yeah.
before we've even gotten a set. Like, have we wiped the sleep out of our eyes yet? Whatever. Everybody, and okay, great, everybody's there. Did everybody get their breakfast? Things like, per diems, which are, it's, the little bit of money that, you're getting, while you're on location. Is that all right? Because a lot of times too, it's just like if you're not sure of your surroundings, if you're in a different place. And again, it was my first time when we started season 1. It was my first time ever in England, let alone London. It's like, okay, let me get my bearings. Am I telling them the right place in which I'm at? Because I don't even, you know what I mean? Is it something like that? And coordinating, and then, whether it be, if it's, per diem is like the contracts and all that, is everything, mended? Because if that stuff isn't, then it's like, somebody can feel a certain way. It's like, do I feel welcome? Do I feel, and again, like, as I had mentioned, this is all before you even step foot on, say any words, even set foot in the hair and makeup chair, that can affect how you're going to, how your day's going to be and all that. So another thing that, I try to, and again, I don't, let it be clear, is I don't personally, handle all of these things individually, but I do have a hand in overseeing them. And if something is awry, just kind of investigating it and kind of looking into it so that we can smooth it out, so that person can, again, be as talented as their
themselves.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was a teacher, and I get that, right? If somebody's hungry or worried about money, like, they can't be the best version of period.
That's right.
They can't. That's how that rolls.
And I wish more people thought about that. But again, this is why we have podcasts like this, and why we produce shows like we do, to, kind of get that thinking, that rock in that boulder rolling that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That thought process.
Wow. So what have you been doing since Ted Lasso aired?
Oh, well, obviously,
What have you been doing since Ted Lasso?
Well, it's funny because it's been, a hard time, in our industry. It really has. It's been, some of the worst strikes that we've seen in the last, 30 something years, both, with DGAW, WGA, and all those folks, again, striking for different reasons and things like that. But majority of the result is that a lot of folks are out of work for a very, very, very long time. And then, you're going to combine that with LA specifically, with, the natural disasters that happen with the fires and all that. And that, combined with a lack of work, combined with, strikes we've never seen, plus, an industry that is completely changing. And it's kind of, again, a little bit like the Wild Wild West, in the fact that nobody really knows how this streaming, animal is going to kind of, work. And still kind of in what I would say, it's in infant stages, to like just kind of getting used to like what's going where, who's making what, and all that. It's kind of a weird time, and the result of that has just been a lot of folks kind of hurting. And then when you combine the lack of work with, like I said, LA specifically, with the wildfires and all that, and losing your home, it can be absolutely catastrophic to some folks. So that being said, I certainly have not been working as much as I would have liked, and I would even say that I haven't, again, not as good as some people, but definitely better than some. And it's been tough. It's been really, really tough. I was blessed though. I can't remember if it was this past May, but the May before that, I worked on a movie with one of my heroes and somebody that I call a friend, Casey Affleck, which then led me to working with another hero of mine, Matt Damon, on this nice little comedy, also an Apple product called Instigators, which was a whole lot of fun to work on. And then whether it be Casey or Matt finding out that is that involved with Ted Lasso, I was able to go over, he invited me over. If we weren't, with iPads and laptops and different devices, speaking out, like, whether it be UEFA Cups or, Champions League games, while we're in between takes, of different, teams that we follow. I think he's a big AS Roma fan. And just kind of following that, he actually invited me over to his place a few times actually to watch the games because we filmed a lot of that. We rotated both from shooting a little bit in Boston and then finishing up in the New York area, and Matt has a place in New York, so he invited me over to a couple places, and then we would go to different restaurants and watch soccer. And so one of my favorite movie of all time is Good Will Hunting. So here I am with Casey on one side, and I'm looking at Matt. It's just one of those things. As I had told you, it's the work you do is incredible, but to be working with two guys like that are just both not only accomplished in what they do professionally, but also just great guys, great good dudes, and for them to welcome me like they did, especially even that little bit extra was just my 7-year-old self is just like doing backflips. I can't believe how did I get here, type thing. So that was one of the projects I was super fortunate in being a part of, and then I did a little bit of work on a yacht rock documentary that was on HBO by a really good producer friend of mine, Adam Gibbs. I think you can find that on HBO. I did a little bit of work there on that, and then I think they have another music documentary. I think they're doing another one as well with so I think yacht rock, but there's a couple days, a whole musical kind of documentary series that they do. But I was fortunate enough that they had brought me on to just do a little bit of work on those and just kind of trying to find the work where you can. And because again, it's rough. It's pretty rough. But again, I've had some experience under my belt. And then a friend of mine, Frankie Shaw, asked me to work on a movie that we just filmed in Ireland called Four Kids Walk Into a Bank was the working title. So I worked a little bit on that. I got back from that just a few weeks ago. And so now just looking, for whatever the next, big thing is. And then, hopefully we'll set another train in motion, hopefully.
We're all looking forward to it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, that's a lot. And we certainly appreciate the position. We can, outside looking in, we can see how rough it's been on the industry, and we certainly hope for everybody and you specifically during this call that somehow gets better and improves quickly. But you mentioned soccer. Were you a fan of soccer before Ted Lasso?
Yeah, there's three things I think just about anybody that's known me, and again, since I've been as my mother puts it, knee high to a duck, that I'll tell you about me. One is I love my friends and family. Two, I love movies and television. And three is I love soccer, football, however you want to refer to it. I just love it. I've been playing soccer since I was like 3 years old. And even my mother will tell you is that, and she was probably more on the very depressed because I have a special needs sister who's a little bit older than I am. But when she would say, all right, those little kids and they catch a ball, they'd say, all right, here you go, catch it, and throw it back, catch it. And what I would do is I would actually let it hit my chest. It would fall on the floor, and I would kick it back to her. And so she's all freaking out. She's like, oh no, like, is there, something, is there something wrong? Whatever. It's like, no, he just loves to kick the ball around. It was again, signing me up for, Townsend Youth Soccer Association and just, kind of getting involved with that and just playing organized sports. The first was soccer. That was my first love. And then it was basketball, track, it just, couldn't sit still as a kid, as an active kid, but soccer was always the number one that I just stuck with. And then, it's not long until you get gaming systems, and then you're not only you're playing soccer, then you're coming from practice, and you're playing like FIFA games, you're playing soccer games, you're playing all that, and you just keep on going. And then, you get, I was so into it that, I would go down to Barnes and Noble or Borders at the time when there was one, and buy, I'll never forget this. They were like, at the time, these were like $10 442 magazines. For like in a small section, you're always getting the latest and greatest, so I could keep up with just like the global game, not just like MLS and what was happening. Yep. But I was deep into it, and I thought I was like super like just a soccer nut until a few years later I met a dude named Brendan Hunt, and I just like okay, like I thought I knew a lot. I thought I was really good about knowing again about the international game, whatever. And that guy's just a walking encyclopedia of just about anything, let alone soccer. But yeah,
that's awesome. Awesome. And I'm curious if those 442 magazines talked about the false nine or the inverted pyramid or anything.
All of it. But at the time, you're struggling as an American. I mean, it's funny because like my generation, It's like, I think ESPN maybe just got the rights to show, I think, the quarterfinals and after, when I was in high school, or like maybe like a seventh, eighth grade, and then going into high school. So it's like, okay, you get like little blips of it, like little blips of like international games. And then you're like, oh, what is this team? And then you want to do more, and then you find them on FIFA, and then you're like, okay, well, who plays for them? And then you get to your core 14, and you're like, oh, this is who it actually is. And you get to names of faces, and you get statistics, and you just go in there. And then this is what I would used to do, like in high school, because nowadays that you just buy like the year versions of it. I would actually, God, I'm going to date myself to PlayStation 1, where you had to save your games on memory cards, is I would update the rosters manually. I'd buy a 442 magazine, or I'd go on the infant stages of, I think it was a website called Planet Football, or just look at whatever the latest transfers were. I would manually transfer the different players to the different squads. And so I would always have an updated version of that game and playing, because I couldn't stand somebody scoring for a team that wasn't even playing for them anymore. So I was like, this is it. And then word got out that like a couple of my friends were like, hey, would you mind saving that to my memory card so that they could have the latest updated version until the new year came out, so we'd always have it updated. So it was, needless to say, this is a poorly and long-winded way of saying, I truly, the game of soccer has been in my heart for quite a long time. Yeah.
Love that. And great segue. So then you get to work on this show that, we don't have a lot of American shows that are about soccer, and Ted Lasso obviously educated the world, on, for those that weren't familiar, on kind of the whole system of English soccer. So a couple of questions about the series that we're just curious about. And
sure.
Some will be hard, likely, but did you have a favorite episode?
This is tough. This is really tough. And I gotta say, and as far as even like favorite characters and favorite shows and things like this, and I'm gonna give you a disclaimer already, that it's you're asking somebody like who their favorite child is, because it really, characters and episodes and all that, it really is super tough. And for this podcast specifically, I really tried. I was like, okay, narrow it down. And I just, it's anything of like believing, of just like doing the impossible. When somebody gives you a task, anything in life or anything, of, I'm from Boston, Massachusetts. When we saw Tom Brady go from 28-3 and winning that Super Bowl, and then, then being affiliated, with what we had to overcome to even put this show on the air, to then what it's done, and then for what it's done for me personally. And then you go back and you watch like a season 1 where we had no idea the impact, the connection, the overall outcome of what that show would then turn into is beautiful. And the things that even touch me even now, as I'm watching with my girlfriend, is I don't know if it's with Roy. And again, it's in the end credits, and they play out when Roy touches the believe sign, or it's at the end of season 2 when, Isaac, the captain, asks to join the huddle, and he kind of, does a Moses Red Park, and he just says, no hands in, we're going to touch the believe sign.
Yeah.
I can even remember, and this is like, these are the kind of things, and I can even remember even when Ted Lasso was a commercial, it's just the things that happen behind it. I think I even got choked up even then. And I think, and again, that was season 2, but it was just kind of like where it even all starts, of a sign that simply just says believe. Yeah. And just the things I have to say about not only the cast and the crew, of just believing and putting their faith into Jason, Brendan, Joe Kelly, Bill, and what that's turned into, and the impact that that's had, and the messages that I still get of people. I mean, we haven't aired an episode, a new episode, for years now. And we just looked, I think it was number 2 on Apple still. And it's incredible. So when you say favorite episode, and I get to see, a Phil Dunster, who's now well known, I get to see a Brett Goldstein, I get to see a Hannah Waddingham. I get to see a Nick Mohammed. I get to see, I get to see James Lance. I get to see Tahib. I get to see all these people in season one where we had no idea. We knew we had.
Yeah.
I think we always knew we had a good show, and we were confident what we were the product that we were going to put out. But if I were to tell you that any one of us knew what it was going to turn into, I think we'd be stretching a little bit there, except
funny.
maybe for Jason, because he always had eye up as folks, and the rest of us did too. But yeah.
My when Nick and I decided we were going to write Lead It Like Lasso, I said to my then 22-year-old daughter, we're going to write this book. And she's very good at marketing. She's like, I don't think that's a good idea. It's a show. It's going to be short-lived, blah, blah, blah. And I said, little miss, who just had college tuition paid for, I'm going to need you to do me this favor and watch the first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go for a walk and go to the grocery store. And when I came back, I walked into the house and she's jumping around the room with her fist in the air saying, Roy Kent, he's here, he's there, he's everywhere somewhere. I said, now that we have that straight, we can chat about this book. She's like, all right, I'm in. How can I help? I said, so for that reason, the 3rd episode is my favorite because I pretty much double dog dare you to get past that one and not want to jump around singing Roy Kent songs and just knowing the feeling that the show brings you.
It truly is, and even now, the kick I get out of it now is that there are some folks out there that are either late to the party or have working lives, or busy or whatever, and just haven't had the time to sit down and watch the show. And it's so funny because you're like, hey, just getting around to watching the show. Don't be mad at me, which I never am. Don't be mad, whatever. I'm just like, the only thing I ask is just let me know what you think as you go through. And I'm talking, whether it's even a few minutes to a few hours to a few weeks, months, even a year later, and be like, hey, listen, that was, I really appreciated that. And then, you get, different stories of how it's affected people and how, it maybe inspires them to be other people, or maybe even have, a little bit more patience to find out what other people are going through, coworkers, just neighbors even. And just the connection that something like that, brings to the world is something that I certainly, and I'm speaking for myself, am damn proud of. And I know proud of the rest of my coworkers, and cast crew are also super proud of that fact as well too.
Yeah. We often say that there's 2 types of people in the world, right? Those people that love Ted Lasso and those who haven't seen it yet, right? And it's so true. I mean, we are nothing like you with an affiliation to the show at all, but we kind of have this book that relates a leadership framework to the lessons that you guys brought forward in the show. And people kind of look to us and, and they ask us, should we watch it? Or we say, why haven't you watched it yet? And same thing, people get back to us like, I cannot believe I did not watch this sooner. We've literally moves me
to put Ted Lasso bully on our LinkedIn profile.
Go into it, but I just, it is, it's a wild thing, to think of. And again, and I just, it just going back and looking at them and times are tough, kind of for everybody. And with current events that, things that are even happening, in America is, watching and going back and watching old episodes to just kind of remind you of maybe like, and as I would call you guys, professionals in the work and the teachings of the Ted Lasso message is, just going back and just trying to, remind yourself and also to remind yourself that this was a show that took place at another dark time, that we had not too far, in the past, with COVID and, and this kind of the spirit that, kind of evolved from the show, with that, which was again, a message of positivity, caring, and kindness.
And so important.
Like I said, it's things like that are, I don't think really ever obsolete. And certainly I find me personally I can look back and watch them, as a fan to even remind even myself to be like, stay the course, stay positive. You don't know around you who you're inspiring, who you're carrying, and who you're lifting, to go on, with their lives. So it's just nice to, be a part of, something like that, and to have it appreciated as it is.
That's awesome. Just real quick question. So,
Sure.
what did you think of Richmond?
I I mean, I get sentimental of just about anything that involves the show. So when you say, Richmond, even it just I immediately, you know, so many things, whether it's the places, whether it's the beautiful Richmond Green. And have you guys been to London? Have you
Yeah,
guys seen?
I
Okay.
went a couple of months ago, and I mean it. I loved it. I just
It's
absolutely loved it. It's so charming. And you get the feels, you get the Ted Lasso feels because of the show, right? But the river, I didn't really. As I was watching the show, there were some scenes with the river, but everything about it was awesome. I just love from your perspective being over there so much. I mean, was there any one particular thing that you just loved, or is it just the whole thing?
I always say again, like, it's the places, and it's funny because, I always love, the Richmond Green, especially on a beautiful day in nice weather. It's just something so spectacular, because the weather is so varying, in England and London, specifically, in Richmond specifically. When you catch like a beautiful day out, when like people are just like, oh, it's kind of like Boston when like the weather starts to get nice out. It's like, oh, like everybody's like out and about and lovely, and people are just spread out, of just like having just various picnics and just enjoying themselves out. And the different things, again, the different establishments that welcomed us, or just kind of was like, oh, who are these people, whatever. But then as we progressed, just really opened up and embraced us. And places are just places if it's not for the people, and that's really
Yep.
what I remember the most. I remember again the Prince's Head, which again was the real, I guess, crown and anchor.
Yep.
Just anytime we really needed to, have any anything, whether it be just drinks after work, or having staging equipment or people or whatever in there, just been so welcoming and great to us. The cricketers, right next door, also as well. If we filled up the Prince's Head, we had to give them a break. We go to cricket. Many writing sessions have been in in the upstairs of cricketers that that we've had, and they've just been super wonderful. And even again, the shops that are in and around there have just, again, there's what do you call it, empanada place that's right back there, it's called Shengo's. I think it's right there, that I know Jason was definitely a fan of. I definitely scarfed down a few empanadas myself there, and it is, and just really like, hey, what are you guys doing, whatever, and just kind of, at first you maybe being me, who are these people, as just about anybody would, but then over time just been, really appreciative of, whether it be the foot traffic, the business, or even just kind of just the good old pride that you can just bring
Yep.
to an area.
Yep.
And it's just been really cool. I remember freaking out the first time I saw on like Google Maps. I think it was like, the Ted Lasso neighborhood. I was like, this is wild. Like, this is
Yeah, that's a
this
big
is
deal right
this is
there.
wild. Yeah, you know what I mean. And just and again, it's the people that were there before us that'll be there long after us, and
No doubt.
I personally am super appreciative, and had some really great experiences in and around Richmond. It's just beautiful.
I love what you said. Places are just places if not for the people. I
That's
wrote
right.
that down because I liked it
Yeah, there you go.
exactly the way you
Yeah,
said it. So you'll see
yeah.
that again for
There you
sure.
go. There you go.
So one of the things that that folks love to do is we made a little assessment in our book about what type of leadership character you
Oh,
are.
oh boy.
So what type of leadership character, like which of those characters are you? I'm not going to say beard.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Right.
I don't get the
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't get
Right.
the beard vibes from you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It's, I don't, again, it's like, okay, well, as a father, which one of your kids are you the most like? It's just like, I hope that I, have pieces, with all of them, and because all of them have affected me, certainly.
yeah.
And I would think that I would take, a piece from them all. Like, I mean, them all. But there is something about trying to motivate a group to accomplish something that is either hard or you deem impossible, and then taking that and then accomplishing whatever it is when nobody thought you ever did have that. And that's something that, like I said, I'm from Boston, so you don't need to tell me about championships and Super Bowls and
Yeah.
and Stanley Cups and all that. So and we certainly have been blessed with those individuals around these parts. But so with that being said, is that I resonate, with Ted,
With Ted.
and also too is that you don't have to be a perfect person in order to do that, as Ted had shown, is that he, has the flaws, and sometimes it is those flaws that make you not only human, but can elevate you to have an understanding and compassion about other people that also may have flaws, and how we all come together by, in forgiving those that have either done us wrong or on our journey of all of us to become better people. Because I'm a big proponent that if people can help, they will. And I again, a lot of this, and I'm sure you're gathering where I'm kind of headed this too. I'm going to land the plane now, but I do have to say, Ted, it's just, I see a lot of, the people that I work with, the creators, Joe, Brennan, Jason, and just being so proud of them, about, the things we've accomplished, the adversity that we had to, again, just getting our first few minutes on the air, to fighting for the show, and, to really uphold the message that they wanted people to embrace, much of which is to be kind to your neighbor, and the power of positivity, and just the triumphs that you don't even know that you can accomplish if you just show up and believe in yourself and around the people that you're doing it with. I certainly, if there's one thing that show has taught me, is that I truly, truly believe that anything can happen. And I'll even go back to even some of my high school buddies. I've had the privilege of, again, visiting some home here now, and they're just like, you mean to tell me, because I did tell you that there are three things about me, is friends and family, television and movies, and soccer. And he's like, you mean to tell me that you get to work, and again, have an accomplished career, in television, movie business, but then produce a show that is about soccer, that then brings you to just a hotspot of the sport. Let's like a beautiful place of the a beautiful place of the sport, to then take that and make a hit show, and then have it bring you to a stage where you watched your heroes that inspired you to do that exact thing. They're like, this is what, like, this is
You gotta believe.
crazy. And that's what it starts. And that's because that's worth it. And that's why I'm a big proponent of, visiting young folks, and speaking, and giving talks and speeches, and of just having something that you want to do, whether that be a dream, whether that be a task, and just never giving up on that thing. I'm a big proponent that I say in my talks too, is that if you're consistent and you're persistent and you have love in your heart, there isn't an element on this planet that can stop you. There isn't. There's just not that I believe that there just is not a thing. Again, consistency. Again, you got to do it. You got to show up all the time. You got to do it consistently. Persistence is because people are going to tell you no and that you can't do it. It's to push past them and say that you can, and believe in yourself, and then to have love in your heart, to that you're doing this for the right reasons, and that you're doing this for not only yourself, but you're doing this for other people, and then also to, in your pursuit of that dream, sending the elevator back down so you can lift others up. And that's I can't think of a better message, one of the many that I've been privileged to be a part of, that the show can provide.
So not only did you tell us that you were like Ted Lasso, you just showed us. That was very inspirational. That was moving, and I'm proud to have you on the show. Just as you were proud to be part of that show. That was awesome.
Like I have all the time in the world for people that that show an enthusiasm for those things and the principles that I believe that the show kind of exudes and illustrates. And so I have all the time in the world for you. All the time in the world.
So I know that based on the previous responses, this is probably going to be another tough question to answer, but we often hear so much people talk about the arc of the show and the arc of the individual characters. Outside of Ted, and Ted was fairly consistent the whole way through. So I'm not sure there was a huge arc there. But was there any one character that, again, I know they're your children, but that you saw from beginning to end that you really felt like, yeah, I just love the way this character got from point A to point B from the first episode to the last episode?
Yep. Children gather around. Children. I, I mean, again, and you're gonna, again, for listeners, it's like, he's just not answering. He's gotta make some decisions. But again, the people that come to mind, and again, there's a progression of everything because again, it's, you go from, trying to get the show on the air to then, having season one being like, what's the response like, whatever, to then coming back season two and knowing that, the show has, that you've done something that people, can't appreciate, that it's won some awards, whatever. And you just see, even the crew, because so often, so times that because there's so much, I won't say the word. I'm not going to say content. I'm not going to say that, but because there is so much material out in so many different places to watch it, which is great in some aspects. But what does tend to happen is that, people have lives and people can only focus their attention on certain things, whatever. And so, you do have just like a kind of a plethora, and there's many, even phenomenal pieces of shows, series, of movies, whatever, that just kind of, fall through the cracks and things like that. So I've had the privilege of working on some of them, and it's like, man, that show is so good. Like, how come, whatever. And just, there's not a lot of people can say how it happens. I'm sure some that can, but not a lot of things, actually get to that point. So when things do get to the, and which then leads to even working on it, whether you're a crew member or a cast member, whatever, is like, oh, is this pilot even going to go? Or like, how much should I even care about this? Whatever, like how much effort, whatever. But then you show up, you do your work, you do your best. And with a little bit of luck, a lot of bit of luck and support, you do accomplish something.
Yeah.
And you are a part of something special. And I think from the transition from season one to transition two, and this is, again, a little bit of story inside of a story. There was one place that I had to get back to after season one, after we had gotten accolades, and all that and things like that, as I could not wait to get back to the locker room. I couldn't wait. Because for me, that was a hallowed ground. That's a very special place for me, where the belief sign hangs.
Yep.
There's just an energy in that room that I'm almost fiercely protective of, just because it was the place that I feel like the magic was. It kind of crescendoed. That's where it kind of like having that many individuals in the room, like in there, was a very, very, very special place. And I think once we got back there, and when we kind of and we had our whole cast, crew, whatever, going from season one to season two, people walked a little bit taller. I think, this is just my personal opinion, I think people walked a little taller. I think people, you start to see confidence in people. And I'm a big proponent of there are different ways to motivate people, whatever. I'm a big person in being like, you can do things, you can fly if you want to. Because somewhere along the way you told yourself that you couldn't, but you can fly. No matter what you say, you can fly. And you started to see people fly. You started to see them gain that confidence. You started to see people be like, you know what? The whistle blew and we played the game and we won. Now there's the next game, right? Because now we have to play the next game. And you just started to see, but you know what? Let's stand on that though. We did win. Let's stand on that. Let's gain that confidence. Let's learn our lessons that we could have done better, but let's gain that confidence. So I'm going to say, can I say everyone? Can I say is that a, you know what I mean? Can I say everyone? Yeah. I mean, people.
No one's grading us, so yes.
You know what I mean? Like I just see, like, again, like a guy like like Cola, who kind of came in there, was like on a suggestion of a friend of his, that he should go off of the soccer show, to then not only being a cast member, but then also to then becoming captain of that team. to then season 2 becoming one of the funniest things. I think, the haircutting scene, the barber
Oh, I
scene,
love
to
that.
then going all the way to
yeah,
season
yeah,
3 where he's delivering these almost
yeah.
like Shakespearean monologues as he's
Yes.
standing on a couch. Like, it's just like all these things. Like, you go Mo Hashim, who was basically, essentially like an extra, from from season 1, whatever. And we liked him. We liked his aura. He just brought a certain energy to it. He was definitely one of the best and better soccer players, if not the best soccer player we had on the squad, who then, gets a few lines, season 2, whatever, then becomes a full-fledged cast member and then goes on to do other things. He became one of the leads in like a new Peacock show. Like you're just like, this is wild. And again, like Brett, Juno, again, Ollie, James Lance, Trent Crimm, asked a question in the pilot,
Yeah,
whatever. Then he's nominated for it just like nominated for
yeah.
all these awards. It's just like, again, everybody, and again, we're talking about even, crew members that, have gone from, maybe being a PA to then, a well-known PA that we try to, carry as many people as we can from season to season, just because we know how hard it is, and we try to, reward, hard work with loyalty and things like that. When I first came up with this, I was like, you're never going to get, I was taught, you're never going to get a thank you, but your thank you and your triumph is when you get a call to work that next day. And so, what better way can we, thank you than to give your, opportunity to do more good stuff, with us and for us and all that. And so a long-winded way of saying I cannot pick one, but I do know the effect that it had on I want to say just about everybody that I know of. Yeah.
I would say we've asked that question a number of times, and that was the best answer we've ever gotten. So that was
So
awesome.
it also makes me think like that locker room clearly did smell like potential. And now it smells like confidence and success. So for the record, yeah, I sadly can quote a lot. Nick and I both can, but yeah, I was like,
love
oh,
it. There you
early
go.
on, you got me on that one.
That's true. That's true.
Well, and you
There you
talked
go.
about the work of it, right, with the cast and crew members. And so one of my favorite bits is anytime Ted introduced somebody and he would say, like, you've met a really cool person. And so I definitely felt that vibe when I got to meet you. And you have a really cool job, right?
Yeah.
So how do you get one of those cool jobs? What was your story?
Yeah, so I came up, cutting my teeth here in Boston. Just I think a girl I was dating at the time asked, if we wanted to be extras in a movie, and then that movie then got me onto a set, which was I think a movie called What's Your Number with Anna Faris and Chris Evans before he was Captain America. It was filmed in Boston, and she actually got picked like weeks before I did. So I'm over here being like, oh yeah, I just didn't have what it took, just crushed, whatever.
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
calling me, and it really just kind of changed everything. I'll tell you why. It's not that I get picked, to be an extra, but I found out that the crew was local. It wasn't. I always thought in my heart that in my mind that I had to move to New York or LA.
Yeah.
To pursue something like this. And when I found out the crew was local, and I found out, how frequently they did work, and that this was a real possibility for me as a career, I always equate this to, it was like, and I guess this excuse a sports metaphor, but it's like when the quarterback hands the ball off to a running back, and there's just a sliver of light, in the offensive line, that running back has to hit the hole because it has to hit the hole as fast and as hard as he possibly or she possibly can in order to break through that line, because that's what it takes in order to get through to this business, or even to get your footing.
Yeah.
And once I knew it was a possibility,
you just ran. You saw the gap.
The two most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you figure out why. For me, it was like somebody hit me with a lightning bolt. I said, this is a possibility that I can get to do this. I doesn't matter but if I can somehow make this up, I will find a way to work my way up, to do whatever it is. I just love being here. I love the energy. My favorite place, and still to this day in the world, is on a set. I love it. I just love it. And so I made that possibility, broke through, again, networked, made some friends, on that set, and the key PA at the time, his name is Chad Goyette, that taught me a majority of everything I've ever known on a set. Got my number, called me again to work, just as a additional PA, just not knowing anything, whatever. And again, just showed up and kept obviously doing what I was
Doing the
supposed to do, because
thing.
he kept calling me. That guy was in his wedding a few years ago because it became that close. And I just worked my way up as a PA, and then I just kind of had an affinity, with people, which then it probably lends itself to more first team, which
Different
is
projects,
again
yeah.
more of your cast, and then assisting cast members, assisting producers, assisting directors, and going about it that route. And it wasn't long after that until I met a dude named Jason Sudeikis, and he's like, "Hey, man, I like your vibe. I kind of dig the work that you do. I might have an opportunity for you." And after I peeled myself off the ceiling,
Yeah.
that's the opportunity. I went to work for him, and my very first, solo project with just him was a commercial for Ted Lasso, the NBC commercial for Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
So,
Very
and then,
cool.
yeah.
The
And another
story's written
quote that
from
we're going to
there.
steal, I believe, two most important times. Yeah.
I have that one written down. Yes,
Yeah.
the day you were born and the day you figure out why.
Yeah.
So in the world of really cool people, has anybody surprised you?
Oh man, it's funny because when you're working on things, so when we get me messages like, dude, I don't want to be overly, but I think Guardiola's going to be on our show. Like, I was like, and this, again, 3 years old.
Yeah,
Right
that's
now,
got to be huge to you. Yeah.
Boom! Like, oh my
Now you
gosh.
peel the
Just like,
rest of yourself off the ceiling.
anybody. We would go to, different games, and I have like R9 Ronaldo sitting next to me, and we're chatting about like NBA players, as we're watching, EPL games. And I'm like, not only did I have a picture, I had multiple pictures. I mean, we chose, he's Brazilian and it's more probably Portuguese, but like for Spanish class, you had to choose a Spanish name. Mine was Ronaldo after R9. And here I am all these years later, and I'm chatting with it. And I'm not talking like, hey, let's take a picture and go. We're engaged in conversation. We are like, whatever, we're hanging out, whatever. And he was kind enough, to sign a jersey, and a Real Madrid jersey. And I was it was just, again, when you start to think of things to fruition, I like to, and I've said this a couple times on fire. I like to think of my life, my 7-year-old self and my 80-year-old self. And then the person you are in between. And I just think that my 7-year-old self is just doing backflips. My 80-year-old self would be like, wow, that's the people that you've met along the way. And the person I am, we are all just high-fiving each other and being like, I can't believe that this is actually happening, type thing. It's just wild. I think, I think one of my favorite days is when, I'm sure there are pictures and footage and all this, but we took the guys to an NFL game in Wembley, I believe it was, in like basically a national football stadium, whatever. And the culture clashes, the comedic things that all went on while during it were just spectacular. Which then we're gonna cap that off as like, hey, let's meet Harry Kane at halftime. Like, okay, why not? Like, it's just like, again, guys like Matt Turner was there, Lindsey Horan I think was there that day, Chris Richards was there. It was, and then we just all just had a ball watching, again, football in a traditional football stadium. And it was just like, it's just one of again, the moments of your life that you get to do, and the path that you lead with. It's not what you're doing, it's the people that you're doing it with, and how every one of them make you feel. And it was just, I'm just so grateful and blessed and lucky, and thankful to have memories like that. All the more reason, because I know how I feel about those memories, is that I said that there isn't a person that is listening to us right now that can't do it for themselves. And when you get that, and you go through those hard works, you achieve that, you believe in you overcome that fear. And I've heard Will Smith was saying this, is that the best times and the best moments of your life are just on the other side of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can tell fear, hold on a second, I got something to do, and you can get past that, and you can get on that level of persistence, that it's not that's not the heaven as a destination. It's the path. It's the journey. And I'm just, again, so blessed to have had and be able to talk about these moments with such vigor, because I have touched that. I have done that. And I continue to do it. And that's the best part, is that, and all while I get to do that, now I get to be self-aware enough to realize, and because I also would love to give those same experience and those same moments to other people. Hopefully some of your listeners.
Yeah. And well, I mean, we can't thank you enough for sharing at least some of that journey with us today. Sure. This has been awesome. But we like to end with a standard question that we ask everybody, because we're such a big fan of the Trick Plays episode and Ted Lasso. Yeah. We're curious if there was a trick play, aka a life hack that was called the Chip Hamilton. What would it be?
This is a question that I am pondering, and this is a really, 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 really tough one. I've kind of asked people, I was like, what like it, and I just think it's just dare to dream, I think is one of them. And not dream in the sense of like, oh, wouldn't it be cool?
Wouldn't it be nice? Yeah.
Right. But I'm talking, and this is the dare part, is there's a well-known axiom that again, if your dreams don't scare you, then they're not big enough. And there is a part of fear, like I said, that does encompass them. But lay down a solid plan, not of what would be okay in your life, but what do you want to do? Yeah. What do you want to do? What would be the ultimate thing? Be like, I lived like you. If you did this thing, you can let go because you can die, and you'd be like, I'm good. And don't walk, run, pursue that with every single fiber of your being. If you have to spend 6% of your life working, you might as well do it doing something that you love. Do something and pursue that and then when you're doing that, just the pursuit of you doing that will unlock and inspire others to do the same. How awesome is it that we could live in a world where that all of us want to help each other out in pursuing each other's dreams, and we do that. And we say, and that requires, as I referenced earlier, sending that elevator back down. I have been blessed enough to touch these beautiful moments in my life that I get to keep doing. I want to be able to help and inspire other people to get to those things as well too. And that to me, that is just the thing that's the engine. That's the thing that just keeps motivating. That's how hobbies are built. That's how, let's just all get something that we want to do and doggedly pursue that thing with everything that you have, because you will find people along the way that will help you do that. And along the way too, you'll also inspire other people to do the same.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're really grateful for having you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on, and thanks for everybody and all the work that you do as far as promoting the show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your enthusiasm. For the messages that we're proud of sharing with everybody else. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks, Chip.
Thanks.